I can remember the days of Brisbane's famous venue Cloudland, but it wasn't the dances and the nostalgia that goes along with that for me. It was more about how good that sprung floor was to bop around to bands like Australian Crawl in the 80s. These days, the Cloudland site is home to a clutch of home units, but the nostalgia for the Cloudland days is still strong in the community. And for those of you who hanker after a little of that magic, you'll have your chance to relive it once again in a stage show that's set to play here on the coast this Saturday at the Caloundra RSL. Paul Heyman is the creator of the show called Return to the Cloudland Ballroom. Paul, good morning. What are your memories of Cloudland?
Hi, Annie. I don't actually have any as such. All mine have been created in this. I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of the old musicians that did play there give me a lot of insight and a lot of information in helping to establish this show and put the show together.
What inspired you then to create a stage show around this Brisbane icon if you didn't really share the history of it yourself?
Well, I didn't share the history of it myself, but I've actually worked with quite a few of the musos that had. So I'd been getting a lot of stories about it. And also the music from that period is what I've, basically made my living off for the last 10 years. They sort of went hand in that respect. In seeing a lot of the shows that are around at the moment, we wanted to create an element of something a little bit different, which is why we've made it into a bit of an interactive show.
Why do you think so long after the Wrecking Ball knocked down this famous venue that there's still such a depth of feeling in the community about Cloudland?
I think there is for quite a few buildings in Brisbane that were knocked down during that period, sort of late 70s and early 80s. Everyone I've spoken to, we set up, we've had a lot of people respond, just the general public on this, and most of them have said, if we knew it was going to get knocked down, we would have at least gone and had our last dance there. And
yeah.
I think it was partially the reason, that it was just done overnight without any public consultation. A lot of people who met there, got married, had kids. Their kids probably went to debutante balls there. Just really didn't get a last chance to give Cloudland its last hurrah.
How long has your show been in the making for?
It's been about 12 months. There was about 6 months worth of research. Like I said, with Gary McDonald in particular, who was the music director there from 1970 to 74. He gave me the original repertoire book. So I've actually got the authentic repertoire book from Cloudland from that period.
And what's in it?
You name it. There's over 1,000 songs in there. And it's a bit like an accountant's book, I guess is probably the best way of describing it. They're all put into dance order. And then there's these little columns of who used to sing that particular song, because they were obviously sung by different singers on different nights. And then in the back of it, it had some typical repertoires from balls that they did. And the very last page had everyone's pay.
Oh.
So it had what the band players got paid and what the music director got paid.
How intriguing. What a great slice of history.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You've set the show itself up as a replica bandstand. Tell us about the set design.
Yep. When I was doing the research, and like I said, I've worked in showrooms for the last 10 years, and I really wanted to create something a little different. The bandstand itself at Cloudland was just an amazing centrepiece. I mean, it had that big mural along the back. Probably in the 70s, late 70s or early 80s, the mural wasn't there. It was covered over by curtains. But early on, sort of 50s and 60s, there was this massive mural at the back, and then it had these neon lights that went up the front of the bandstand. So what I decided to do was make that the stage setting, make that the centrepiece, like you would have been watching any band in Cloudland, because they would have been playing on the bandstand. Then in front of that, we decided, well, let's make the dance floor part of the show as well. So let's make the dance floor like the dance floor in Cloudland, and that way you're encapsulating that whole feeling of like you're dancing to the band at Cloudland.
Tell me about the cast, because I understand it's really quite interactive.
It is, yeah. The show opens, we've got 12 ballroom dancers, 10 ballroom dancers and 2 competitive rock and roll dancers that actually open the show. So the show's not just the music, it is also the dance and fashion from the era. And they open the show on the dance floor, which then creates that atmosphere of that the dance floor is part of the stage set. From there, they then become part of the audience, and they're available to dance with or get pointers or tips off or whatever you like. So they become part of the show, but within the audience itself.
There's a bit of a cue at that point, isn't there? Because you're really trying to encourage the audience to get moving. Yeah,
part of what I wanted to do was bring music and dance back as an amalgamation. It's something that's been missing. And I guess since the Cloudland days, the good old-fashioned Saturday night dance has really gone by the wayside. So we, really wanted to create that whole atmosphere of not just coming to see a show, but see a show where you can actually participate and be a part of it.
Now, you've researched the show quite extensively. What lengths did you go to?
Queensland Archives and Brisbane Archives. I got a lot of the just basic data from there, and also some quite good pictures that we were able to use. In fact, one of the pictures that we used for creating the bandstand comes from a postcard size picture from one of the archives. From that, an artist was able to make a 7.2 metre mural. I don't know how he did that, but from a postcard size picture in black and white, he's made a colour mural that's 7.2 metres wide and 3 metres high, which is really quite cool. And then, of course, research with just a lot of the musos that played there. Gary McDonald. Greg Doolan's also been quite instrumental in helping me with this project. He's become a bit of a mentor to me, and he in fact played at Cloudland in 1972. One of his first bands got a residency there. So it's been an amalgamation of either factual information from the archives or people who were there firsthand.
And no stage show about Cloudland would be complete without the band, and you've got a fabulous lineup for us.
Sure have.
Who's in it?
Well, we got a music director who was the original rhythm guitarist from the Aztecs.
Wow.
Yeah. He actually was in the band before Billy Thorpe even joined. He comes from a 55-year background in the music industry. He's worked most of the major clubs and showrooms in Sydney. Sort of semi-retired up here. He keeps joking to me. He said, I really wanted to do a project like this 20 years ago, not now, because he's getting on a bit, but he's loving it. And then we've got a whole plethora of Queensland Conservatorium music graduates. So I've kept the band quite young, which is going along with what the band was like at Cloudland as well. But they're very experienced, great players, and it's a really, we've tried to create a unique sound, but also a sound that was very similar to the band that used to play at Cloudland.
And you get to oversee the whole operation, I understand. Yes,
I get to stand out the front. Yeah, which is great. And like I said, it's doing the music that I love, all that music from the 50s right through to the 70s. I just think that's when all the great music was made. So I get to do what I love in quite a unique stage setting.
Well, it sounds absolutely fantastic, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of misty eyes in the audience when it plays here at the Caloundra RSL this coming Saturday. Paul Heyman, thank you so much for telling us about your wonderful stage show.
Thank you very much for having me, Annie. Thank you.